Hello, welcome to Staring Down the Storm, Autism Advocacy in America. I'm your host, Tabitha Ziegler. We've got Jamie Olson here from Uniquely You, and we're going to let her take the floor. So go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's such a blessing, and looking forward to sharing more about this great resource to support more people in the special needs and disability community.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you come up with these ideas, a little bit of your backstory, whatever you're comfortable with sharing with us.
Great question. So my son is almost 13, and he's severely autistic, epileptic, as well as nonverbal. And for the first 5 years of his life, I didn't know anybody that had kids with special needs. So much like a lot of other families experience the isolation and the loneliness and navigating finding resources, I just thought to myself, I can't be the only parent that lives here in Indiana that has a child with special needs that's feeling this way. And then I asked myself the next question of how can I turn my pain into purpose, right? How can I grow myself and be able to then help other people going through similar things, to help them not feel so alone and help them feel more connected. So my background is actually with publishing. I worked with the N2 company since 2013.
Okay.
And they actually are a national company, publish over 800 different types of magazines nationwide. So
wow.
They're one of the largest print companies in the US. And something pretty cool that a lot of people don't know is that 2% of every one of our support partners that chooses to advertise in Uniquely to support it, to make it free for the community, that goes directly back to N2 Gives. And then in the last decade, they've actually donated over $23 million to help fight human trafficking.
Wow.
Through Love Justice and 4 or 5 total nonprofit organizations that support and not only rescue individuals that have been put into trafficking, but those that are getting back out of it and into the community.
Wow.
So pretty cool effort to support and help those navigating, that journey. But I, through my experiences, realized that I need to connect with others, and I need to build a community, and I need to learn how to heal and how to grow through a lot of those early years of raising a special needs child. And I ended up running into an incredible organization called Purposeful Living, Inc.
Okay.
And so they're designed to help the modern woman, that looks like she has it all together, but deep down is broken, searching, and lonely. And they provide free prayer and care and coaching and growth groups. And I was like, well, these growth groups would be tremendous to run and be able to lead and be able to grow from, but also to help others too. So I became a growth group leader with Purposeful Living early on in their programs there, and got to help special needs parents and then walk through those courses on Fruit of the Spirit, my identity, my destiny. And not only did it help me grow, but it also helped, encourage other people. And then we were at an event with Purposeful Living, and they hand out these really cool scripture cards, and I just so happened to get a card that had Romans 8:28 on there, and it stated that for God gives good to those who love him, who's been called according to his purpose. And I kept that scripture on my mirror. I still have it to this day, and I read it every day for the last year and a half, and I kept asking myself, how can I turn my pain to purpose and make a difference in the community? And at the time I had 2 children. Well, they're now 6 and 7, but back then the youngest was 5 months old.
Wow.
My daughter Jade. And so I walked into her room, and I clearly felt Holy Spirit just land the vision on my heart. And very clearly he said, hello, you've been running magazines for 8 years and running events to connect community and connecting families with resources. And the challenges of raising a special needs child and how hard it is to find resources and how isolated this community feels, and you should start a magazine.
That's
and
amazing.
So that whole vision landed, and I was like, okay, that would be a huge blessing, and would make an incredible impact. And I absolutely want to figure out how to do this. But I was also met with a lot of can I do this? I'm already running 3 local magazines with the company. I already, I have 2 young kids. They were 18 months apart, the youngest being 5 months old. And then my son, who was 6 at the time, with severe autism and epilepsy. So I was managing a lot of hats, and I thought, how can I start something from scratch, with no model, no systems, no background, nobody else that I know of doing it that I can learn from. And I thought, well, all I can do is ask. So yeah. I went to our conference right back from maternity, and had the pleasure of having a really great conversation with the president of N2 and shared the vision, and he told me to run with it. And I said, oh gosh, if he's going to give me the green light to figure this out, I got to do it. And
yeah, that's amazing.
So it was the fall of 2019 when that had happened, and I had that conversation, and he gave me the okay. And I said, well, let's just connect with the local people in the community, people that have special needs kids, community leaders, and kind of get an idea of like what, if they would even want this, and if they would, what types of things in there would be valuable for them in their daily lives to support them. So taking all that information and pulling it together kind of led to, the issues that we publish. Obviously COVID hit in 2020, right? And people were home and isolated on a much deeper level that year than any other year. And I thought, out of all the years that we can get this going, like, this is the year we got to get it done. So when he went back, my kids went back to school in 2020, I dove full force into working to get this up and running. And we are so incredibly thankful for all the incredible organizations and businesses that directly work with families and individuals with special needs and disabilities who's chosen to partner with Uniquely You and use their space to share tips and tricks and resources and tools and highlight their programs and just really help educate the community and connect them, with their services and supports. So that's been a blessing to really help connect the community. And we do several events throughout the year too to connect the community as well. We're doing one tomorrow.
I was going to say, I heard that you have an event coming up. So would you like to tell our listeners a little bit more about that?
Oh gosh, yeah, I'd love to. We had the pleasure of featuring the Best of All Band with Gigi's Playhouse on our January cover. And they're going to be playing at our New Year's Bash event tomorrow. We're doing a variety and a talent show. And so they're going to come out and sing, and we're going to have Bold, which is going to come out and perform. Several of their individuals will be there. New Horizons will also be there. Several of our partners will have event, fun snacks and desserts and appetizers and dancing, face painting, all the things. So it'll be a good event to connect the community tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that. And
how many years have you been running this event?
This will be our 4th year doing this event. So yeah, every year I feel like it gets better and better.
That's great. Would you like to speak a little bit more about some of the organizations that will be there?
Yeah, so we actually have quite a few that will be coming and setting up. Those are our partners in Uniquely You. Mm-hmm. So they'll have a table and pass out information and connect with families and help support them. We have Connections Case Management. They're one of the largest case management companies here in Indiana. So they're going to be there. They're helping to donate the raffle prizes from our Get to Know You bingo. Okay. So the winners of that will get to.
And what kind of prizes will we be having?
Oh gosh, they have an assortment of 3 different baskets and things that they'll be giving away. New Horizons is giving away Bold is giving away one of their free dance sessions for the community. And then Tangram, they are a phenomenal resource in the community, helping with adults that are looking for employment, along with ABA, and they really help connect the community with some incredible support and resources. So they'll be there as well. And our title sponsor is Comfort Care, Home Care, and they help cover the cost of the facilities so that anyone that comes doesn't have to pay for anything. Okay. So we've been able to offset the cost through our incredible sponsors and people covering face painting. The Guardian Care is going to be there helping to cover the face painting, and then we'll have our belief artist from Abbey Care too. Will be there to do the face painting. So we're thankful for their sponsorship. Hometown Labor Solutions is sponsoring our desserts, so we'll have kind of sugar cookies with sprinkles and the mud, where they call them the mud pie kind of, where you take chocolate pudding and Oreos and gummy worms and make kind of little mud pie desserts for the kids there. So it'll be a fun day.
That's exciting. So in Uniquely You, I know you've interviewed, well, you have several different people that are in your, I wouldn't say episodes, but is there anyone in particular that really stands out to you over the years that you thought, wow, I'm just really impressed by these people and what they're doing?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard because I feel like every issue, there's just, it's so, I love the name because it's unique, right? Like it's so unique. And I hate to reuse that word, but it's so true. You know, everyone has a story,
right?
Everyone's going through something. You know, not everything is butterflies and rainbows.
Exactly.
And people can be 100% authentic and as vulnerable as they want to be, and be able to share authentically their journey, what they've done, what they've overcome, where they're at, what they've learned, who's helped them. And those things that are shared can really help other people, you know, as they're navigating their own journey, not feel so alone. But just for example, our most recent issue in January, Lorraine featured the Best of All band. We actually give extra copies to anyone we feature on the cover. They get them.
That's great.
And they were delivered at Gigi's Playhouse during one of their practices. And it was so neat, the video that they captured of being handed the magazine with seeing themselves on the cover being featured for the very first time. Like they're about, I want to say about 12 or so. There. They were all getting their copies. And they were just cheering and smiling and just super excited, you know, enthusiastic to see themselves, to the point where even people had tears, you know, of joy of seeing themselves, you know, on the cover, being recognized and valued and seen and known and celebrated. It's a community that definitely deserves to be celebrated. So I probably could go on and on of the stories we've shared.
Well, this is the space for that.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm giving you free reign to talk about anything you want to talk about. Cool. If you think that it's important and you think that it's helpful to someone, you know, this is definitely the place and the space for that.
Love that. I'll share the story from one of our very first issues that I think really helped shift my personal perspective in a huge way. Having a son who's, you know, fully pretty much relying on me to change him and dress him and feed him, restroom, all that. I was changing him and getting him dressed in the morning. And I found myself, or at least caught myself thinking in my head, you know, like, gosh, Jordan, am I going to get you dressed, you know, when you're 30, when you're 40, when you're 50, you know, because that's a very real thing.
Of course.
You know? And I thought, you know, if we have to, we will, you know, that's fine. We're definitely making progress. He's able to, you know, pull up his socks on his own and pull down his shirt, pull up his pants. So we're getting there, baby steps, which is good to see. But he won't be able to he's not doing it independently right now. So I was in my head and I was like, oh gosh, Jordan, when are you going to learn to dress yourself is what I was thinking, you know? And there's a girl who wrote a story in one of our first issues. Her name is Hope, and she has cerebral palsy. Right. And she can't use her voice. She can't use her hands to sign, so she can't communicate using those means. She actually uses her toe. She has a device hooked up to her wheelchair, and she used her toe to type. And so she wrote her whole life story by toe.
That's amazing.
I know. I got it and read it, and I was in tears as I was reflecting on so many things that we can easily take for granted. You know, like we complain about the weather, you know, or how cold it is, or how hot it is. And in her story, she shared that it can take her close to 2 hours every day to dress. And that's the moment when I had a gut check. And I was like, why am I complaining about helping my son get dressed in 5 minutes when it's taking this girl 2 hours? Like, I think it's seeing those shifts in perspective. And because we have a great resource that is mailed directly to families in Indianapolis and surrounding counties, all the stories are about them, and to celebrate them and to give them a chance to share, you know, their journey. A lot of people have said to me specifically, like, to take the time to process and to write these things out. They've kind of locked away for years, and to get it on paper is just so liberating and freeing. And then to see that story come together. I can't wait for our March issue to come out. There's a...
So we have some highlights coming.
some incredible highlights. In fact, I don't normally do this, but since we're kind of on the cusp, I always like to be flexible. We have some neat testimonies. Let me just type it in here because I got to pull up the newest one. Perfect.
Exciting.
So, okay, this was great. So we're going to be featuring the McMillan family in the March issue, and I'll have the pleasure of connecting with them and meeting them. And they have an incredible space, and they are up in Fort Wayne, so it's a little bit of a hike from here.
Yeah.
However, those in Fort Wayne, like this would be a phenomenal space for them. The House of Pens, it's not yet a nonprofit, but
Okay.
They're working towards that. But their home is designed in a space that has a bowling alley.
Wow.
And it's an adaptive bowling alley.
Very cool.
So people can come and bowl as a family or bring groups and stuff to go there too. And they're expanding that out as well to make a sensory, space within, their place. And they have just a tremendous story. Their son passed a year ago, and so that this is like kind of an anniversary of that passing, and being able to. She actually shared me a great testimony and being super thrilled. She said, we truly are at a loss for words. My mama heart can't even begin to tell you how unbelievably moved I am for our son's life to be used by God through the platform you generously provided. A tremendous part of our journey through grief is fear that our son will be forgotten. You have given our son's life, as well as our son Camden, a voice. Thank you again, Jamie. You truly are a blessing to so many. From Sarah. So I just
really
think
nice.
those moments are always just getting the feedback from people, that are truly honored to be celebrated in this way. It's an incredible blessing.
And I always love to hear these stories about these people that they have overcome some sort of extreme adversity and then they decide to give back. So I find that incredibly inspiring, and I'm glad that you shared that.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think that we've got 1, 2, 3. We have 4 or 5 magazines here.
We do.
So let's show everybody a few of those and talk a little bit more about these.
Yes, so we do print and mail. They are free on behalf of our supporters, and they can be accessed digitally online. So on our social media page, Uniquely You, Indy. We publish here in Indiana. We publish in Michigan. We publish in Ohio. And we're actually expanding across the nation to bring this local platform to local communities all across the country.
Very good.
To support local communities. So we just had a training a couple weeks ago, and we currently have 8 people that will be launching a Uniquely You. So we'll be expanding to Florida, to Texas, to Georgia, to South Carolina. We'll have 2 out there, West Michigan, Illinois, and even in Arizona. So we're excited to get going.
So if anybody in a different state was interested in partnering with you, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can either send us a private message on social media. I have everything on our forms when they go to our Facebook page. So people that want to get Uniquely You can use that form to submit their information. They can select whether they want it in print or digital or both options, which we offer. And then we mail that out directly to them monthly. And the digitals always become released on the 1st. But yeah, anytime anyone's open to having a conversation, I love most of my time just meeting businesses and meeting organizations and learning what they do so that I can better help support the community and connect them with what we do. So I love just doing what is out there so I can be better informed and educate others.
Of course. And we'll be providing links to everything that we're talking about here. So is your website uniquelyu.com?
Well, we are working on our landing pages. So those should be available within the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. If I do get it in time, I will share that link with you to pop into the podcast. But if not, I would say just use the Facebook page to find most of the forms. They'll be linked right on that page.
Okay. And obviously, if we get any updates from Jamie, we'll always be happy to pass those along. So I think we would like to hear a little bit more about you. I know you shared a little bit at the beginning. I'm sure you're nervous. Everybody's nervous whenever they talk about themselves. But are you from Indiana originally?
No, I actually was born and raised in Michigan.
Okay, so that's where the Michigan
Detroit.
connection comes.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I grew up in Waterford. So born and raised there. My whole family lives up there. Growing up, my brother, he has ADD, ADHD, and ODD. And so I've watched my mom fight as an advocate for years with children's mental health as a parent support advocate. And
so you've got a deep background in this.
I've seen my mom be that fighter. That was back before there were any really resources for anything. Videos, internet was super slow, had dial-up. People couldn't get on things fast. She couldn't find local people to help with the IEP process and understanding the law, so she had to reach out to an expert, out of state and get education from him. And he taught her kind of the ropes, and then she took it and kind of merged it into helping to support my brother and her son and helped him navigate the school system and making sure his needs were supported along the way. And he's been suspended a few times, but they've really, he graduated, so and that's exciting. And he's working, has a great farmhouse up in Michigan.
And how old is he now?
28 now, I believe. We're about 8 years apart.
Well, the reason I ask is because, a lot of our viewers were at different points. And I think some people with young children, they like to seek out information about anyone that has older children so that they can get like a firm understanding of what the future may look like.
Yeah.
So I think it's super impactful that any of us that have extra information, we may not necessarily think of it at the time, but I find that a lot of people doing this sort of work, there is a long history. So that's why I'm asking you these extra questions about yourself. And plus, that way everybody, it's easier when it's relatable, right? Yeah. So, just as a reminder, we're moms, we're families like yours. That's why we're sitting here with our coffee cups. We're trying to make sure that everybody understands. Exactly. This is what we do. We sit down and we talk, and, the people doing the work in these spaces, they're very motivated. And so I think it's important that they share their stories so that everybody understands where they're coming from.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for hitting on that. Those were awesome questions. And that's why I was like, gosh, at all the places in the nation that could use a Uniquely You, I want to support the state that I grew up in.
Of course.
Why not get one going there? So 18 months ago, we launched up there, and it's been great to kind of see the impact kind of grow slowly but surely across the nation. I remember back when initially the vision was put on my heart in the fall of 2019, and not only was I shared that I should do this, but I really felt clearly was stated that one day there'll be one in every major city in the nation. And I just got goosebumps, thinking of that and kind of feeling that. And now we're actually seeing it, come to fruition. So the exciting thing is as a mom with a son who is, severely autistic and epileptic, I needed a job where I could be a mom and have balance and have flexibility, because I never knew one day to the next, if he was going to have 8 to 10 seizures and then be out, 2 or 3 days or a week, because when he has those, they tend to be pretty rough on him, and it takes a while for him to kind of get back into the swing. We've done so much with gut health and healing, and check out the Pearl study with Purdue University, the Triada Group. They're a local nonprofit, and they're doing some incredible work with health and wellness, working with farmers and all organic eating, and doing testing that they've been able to get covered, and like stool, urine, blood, all that they did prior to the study. And then you eat all organic, and they had a specific supplement that was customized for this study, and that he was on that the full study, and then they do a post test after to compare your results. So I'm excited to see those results here soon, to kind of I've noticed it in his behaviors and in his communication and his eye contact. Those things have been improving, but to just see the numbers. We did a food sensitivity test about 4 years ago, and Precise Health and Triada, they do that as well. And that's how we did it 4 years ago. We found out that he couldn't have so many things. They were triggering him and causing allergies, like things
Okay.
that I thought were healthy for him. He found out he couldn't have like almonds and dates and pecans and watermelon and egg yolk
watermelon,
and,
really?
yeah, just basil. I mean, just things that are kind of in everything you don't even notice. But I was giving him those Larabars, which are generally pretty healthy, because you know, but he can't have any of those ingredients in there. Okay. So we removed all those things that were high on his inflammation list, and we recently had the test redone, and I would say 90% of the things that he was allergic to came back this round. He's no longer allergic to those things.
Well, that's interesting.
I know, because when you avoid certain things for a while, your body kind of builds up immunity, but when you keep eating it all the time, then you eventually become allergic, you know, to that certain food or item. So by removing it and then coming back to it, not heavy, but over, you know, a little bit over a period of time, is not that bad for you as it was before. But we have to get clear on kind of what's going on and the deep root. And everybody is so different and their needs are different. And so I love how they kind of peel back the layers and kind of work at one thing at a time.
So can you talk a little bit more, because I know our listeners are probably really interested in what you're saying. And I think, you know, a large reason why I started this podcast is to give people good information, like accurate information, because I feel like there's so many people out there trying to take advantage of these families. Especially, you know, a lot of people feel inundated with what is autism, what is it about, what can I do? I mean, once you overcome the initial shame, which, you know, we're going to work on too, we're going to have different speakers come in to talk about all these types of things, because the whole point of this is to be helpful. So now that you've done this, what have you gotten out of it? You know, I know you spoke a little bit more about your son's health has improved from that, but, you know, you as a parent, you as his caregiver, you know, you're the one that's around him all the time.
Yep, absolutely.
So of the types of things that you were seeing, because now you've gone down this road, you're clearly committed to it. You know, if someone else, like if you were recommending this program to someone else, from a parent perspective.
What are you saying that would recommend need to do it?
Yes.
Is the question. Okay, cool. I would say, like, just from my personal experience, so I'm not a doctor or scientist to have like the ultimate and no data. But I do know for parents that are seeing behaviors, food is like the number one trigger for behaviors, because our gut is connected to our brain. In fact, that's what's interesting is when Jordan started having seizures, he was 18 months old. Okay. So I was holding him and he was eating a banana. And initially I was like, is he choking? You know, I found out, no, he's not choking. This is definitely a seizure. You know, is that moment then I realized that what did he eat for breakfast? You know, what types of foods did he eat? You know, and he ended up, I think at the time, maybe we had donuts because it was like a special holiday. And, you know, something. And so it was, I think near Easter or something. So we had a donut. He fell asleep on the couch. Yeah. And then 3 days later, he had that seizure. And so it was like it's a trigger from food allergies. You know, it's either gluten or dairy. So I thought, why not just remove all the gluten and dairy just to be safe? So I went to get, you know, healthy green organic smoothies and, you know, blending all that up in my Vitamix and having him drink those, you know, in the morning and throughout the day. So he has extra nutrition. Doing this study with Pearl and Purdue and Triada, we had, I think about 35 or so individuals in the study. Okay. All of them had exponentially high glyphosate levels. Okay. Which comes from Roundup and several other things in the toxic environment. And come to find out, the only way to remove glyphosate is by increasing your fiber levels. Interesting. Yeah. And the average person maybe gets 3 to 8 or so grams of fiber a day. And you need at least 35 to 40 grams of fiber a day. So we added like okra and I believe it's called Falacium. It's a type of fiber, as well as chia seeds, flax seeds, you know, within those smoothies, within yogurts, within, you can make custom, like take granola and honey and, you know, mix your cocoa and kind of make these kind of granola bar bites that you can kind of have ready and prepared. So I try to make a lot of things from scratch, which does take a lot of time. And, buying all organic is not cheap.
Of course.
But investing in things like Juice Plus Tower Garden, so you can grow all your own lettuces and greens and have fresh, as much as possible.
So is he having fewer seizures now?
Yes. So we actually got to the point finally where he was able to go a whole year without having any seizures.
You're kidding.
Yes. Huge blessing.
So he started when he was 18 months old having seizures. Mm-hmm. So at his worst, how many do you think he was having?
I believe we've had months where it was up to the 30, which is quite a few in a
that's
month.
A lot.
Sometimes 6 or 7 in a day early on. But what's so ironic, and I'll kind of share more from like a personal standpoint.
Right, because we're not medical professionals. We're just trying to get some information out there. So I would definitely say,
talk to your doctor.
Speak to your doctor. Yeah, we're certainly not trying to tell you what to do. Just giving you options. Like if you are in a space where you are dealing with epilepsy and you're curious, just giving you some extra avenues to check out if you are curious. So always talk to your doctor first.
Absolutely. Thanks. That's good. And then, I would say for him, what I found out, he was born full term, hit all of his milestones. We have actual video footage of him pointing to his nose, pointing to his eyes, mouth, head, ears, doing all those things. When he started having seizures, he regressed in his speech and development. And so here he is, almost 13. And if I ask him, point to your nose, point to your eyes, point to your mouth, he doesn't know how to do that.
Okay.
He probably absolutely does, though. He knows, I believe, 100%. Always assume competence.
Of course.
Everything.
Yeah, of course.
He knows what a nose is and what eyes are and what ears are. He just can't physically do it, right?
Yes.
There's just a disconnect there. And so I think it takes a certain person to work one-on-one with a nonverbal child, because there's so many just cues and nuances. And I'm very thankful for some close friends that have worked one-on-one with him for a few years as a PAC provider, and helped him, learn those things. And I didn't know much about recently actually doing Uniquely You. I've been able to find about incredible resources that are directly supporting my son Jordan. And that's been tremendous. Destination Region up in Carmel, they do stem cell therapy.
Really?
And so I was able to use that to help reduce a lot of his inflammation. And that tremendously helped with eye contact and reduction in behaviors and following directions more. Like if I were to say, hey, Jordan, go get your backpack, he would go do it, whereas before he didn't do that at all. So he was putting more concepts together. So love Destination Regen, highly recommend people checking into that. And then I found out about Gestalt speech therapy, which I didn't know much about. But I realized him growing up, he loves songs and music, and he won't necessarily say out loud, phrases and words, but if you sing a song in pause, he'll know the rest of it and start singing it, which is really beautiful to see.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I have 3 little kids and they all go to ABA therapy. My oldest one, I was told the other day, they think he's a Gestalt learner as well.
Wow. Awesome. That's great that you're learning about it so early on. I'm like, he's 12. Imagine if he had Gestalt when he was like really young and we knew that that's the type of speech that would help him. Julie Walker, Positive Interactions Therapy. I'll have to pass her contact info to you.
Certainly should.
Because she helped us tremendously with Jordan's development in his speech and communication, just by learning phrases, it's time to go, it's not like, let's go, or just, let go. It's like, it's time to go. And you kind of create a song with it. And that's then, he can relate to what you're saying because it's in like a sound tone. By singing it out, those phrases, you start with a few words, and then over time you kind of peel back the words and get down to like just one word, but there should be set up, it's called, we were using LAMP before, incredible program. Love Toby and all that they do to provide softwares for those programs. But we ended up switching to Touch Chat
Okay.
Because for him, having an incentive with his pictures and clicking it, opening up videos and links, for a while, the tablet was pushed so much and the programs were changed so often that even me as a parent couldn't understand how to navigate it, and not alone him, because everything was changing all the time. And so what's nice is with those communication boards, once they're set up exactly how they need to be, he wanted nothing to do with the tablet for a while because it was pushed for so long and he didn't grasp it. And it wasn't until we switched to touch chat that actually had incentives on it. When he pushed buttons that opened up his favorite Thomas the Train video, he was like, oh, I love this. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. And so now he'll actually gravitate, towards it more and use it a little bit more often. I'll have to probably link back to a couple of cool videos I've recently watched on documentaries from nonverbal individuals who are using communication, boards and typing. And it's just
so have you seen Spellers yet?
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because, see, I have two of my children from what they can tell so far, which, everybody has their challenges. They develop differently. I've got three. Every single one of them is different. And I also have a set of twins. I should say that. I've got a set of boy-girl twins. And so any of you that have multiples of any kind, whether you have one that has autism and one that doesn't, or if they both do, just realize each kid is their own individual self. And even if they all have autism, you're going to be dealing with all of them differently, most likely. So my little one, technically, he's not the smallest, but I call him my little one because my other two are a little bit bigger than him.
Yep, that makes sense.
So actually, his nickname's Bean.
Aww, like a string bean. It's cute.
I always call him Bean. Yeah. But they say he speaks a little bit more at school than he does at home, but they're working with devices with him now. So I'm just now learning about the LAMP device and the different devices. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because I think there's so many people out there that they don't know. I didn't know. And once you enter into that realm, you're like, what is there? How does this work? How do I have access? How do I get access to it? How do I run it through my insurance? So,
we just recently did a great article in one of our past issues, and I'll link it to you so people have access to it. But it is, we worked with the Arc of Indiana, Lynn Jones, one of our incredible writers, a parent, just a wealth of knowledge in the community and such an advocate, along with Tender Duff with Guardian Care, really helped tee up that article in Uniquely You, where we recap the Indiana waiver and have everything updated. And it's a very understandable updated article, whereas, to read through all the information, it takes forever. So this is kind of a good way to summarize everything and have the most up-to-date information on the waiver.
Well, that is very timely, isn't it? Because right now in Indiana, we're having a lot of conversations about, well, not just Indiana, but in this nation, we're having a lot of conversations about Medicaid, Medicare, the waiver, how people get access to programming, who is able to get access to programming, age ranges. So I think that's exceptional timing that you mentioned that right now.
Yeah, and there's so much going on in just what you just said with all of that. And I know, my heart right now is pulled for the families that have children in ABA and need that one-on-one and need that structure. And I love now how ABA is merging more. Some places will do in school, some places will do in the community, some in home, some in, in the center. And we need those options because everybody's needs are different. And, they can get to a point when they understand things to kind of move into the next opportunity, right? We want to get you back into school. And because my son was in ABA from developmental preschool. And we did the first steps and that. And then we had, in first grade, and then we were doing half a day first grade and then half a day in home ABA. And then I think that was the law changed to where it had to be in center.
Okay.
And we were driving 45 minutes one way. So to drop him off and pick him up was 2.5 hours drive time. So we switched over and we went to Kids Count in Brownsburg.
Oh, my kids go to Kids Count in Crawfordsville. Not Brownsburg, in Crawfordsville.
Awesome. Yeah. I love Kids Count.
I am a huge fan of Kids Count. And I will say this, I think as many options as we can get out there is great. But when you are looking for ABA programs, make sure that you do your research and make sure that it's a good fit for you. And
your child.
And your job, your child. We just need more options, just in general. There's so many of these kids, different stages, autism spectrum disorder is a spectrum. It's huge. And so you have to provide all of these options for these kids. Like you're saying, you might have one child that doesn't have as extreme needs, but they can still benefit from parts of early intervention or, parts of the ABA program, like a Kids Count therapy in Crawfordsville. I'm assuming they probably do it in Brownsburg and not just Kids Count,
Speech OT.
I can't speak for all of them. As we go along and we interview different people, I will try and get you as many resources as you can. But from what I'm seeing, it seems like a lot of these centers are trying to do a lot of that extra therapy in-house.
Yep.
And so
save parents time from driving all over the place.
There you go.
It's been huge.
So my little bean, he is having some feeding issues. And
Feeding
so
Friends, they're incredible. Do you know about Feeding Friends?
I don't.
Okay, there you go. Another good resource.
We'll have to plug that too. So I just recently found out about RFID.
Oh.
I don't know for sure if my little bean has that or not. But I say all this to say, as you're diving into this realm and you know nothing, that is the whole point of this podcast. Like, oh my God, my kid got diagnosed with autism. What do I do now? I don't know anybody. I don't know how to get them the resources. I don't understand any of this. So if you do have a question, every question has impact, and there's probably somebody else that has the same question
as well. Would be great to reach out to. I don't know if you know Family Voices.
I probably don't yet.
Okay, they are working. They're a nonprofit here in Indiana and help families with getting their waivers, with filling out the paperwork, with answering their questions, with navigating the whole onboarding process to get your child the support they need through different services. So yeah, Family Voices would be great.
Yeah, so you definitely want to check these comments, because I imagine this comment section is going to be like this.
Yes, it will be.
But that's excellent. That's excellent.
And Family to Family as well. Another great local nonprofit. They're
very
awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then I would share one other thing I was going to share earlier about ABA is where we're at now, right? Like being told that they're only allowing individuals that are in ABA to be in there for 3 years. I'm as a parent whose child has been in ABA since they were 4.5 and graduated when he was 12 from ABA this last summer. He transitioned into mainstream school, middle school, and we did a little trial for a couple of weeks. And I'm so thankful the school let us do this, where for a couple of days of the end of his 7th grade year, he went to the school and then rode the bus, did the whole thing. We wanted to see how he did for a few weeks. And then the rest of the days of the week, he would go to ABA. And we realized really quickly, he's going to do good in this school and this is going to be a great transition. But it was a process, because I had not had his IEP updated thoroughly with everything that needs to be in there since he was in 1st grade. So it really needed to be revamped to the max. And so that's where my kind of heart is right now, is we need to make sure that those that need ABA have it and can use it for the time that they need it for. And I don't think putting a time limit and saying you can only have 3 years.
Right.
That's not okay. That's going to be such a disservice for so many individuals and families in this community. And that's where my heart, is kind of I just let people know, we need ABA. There's kids that need ABA, and 3 years is not enough time. It's just not.
I agree with you, and I'll actually go a step further. I think that parents are their children's best advocates, and the ones that are actually living this life, we are the ones that can speak on it best. So I would highly recommend that any of you out there, whether you are even a step parent, anybody that is in this realm by choice, grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins, friends even, when you see something come across your plate like this, I think you have an obligation to your families and your community to act. Because if you don't, then you have things like this that are taken away from these kids. And I'll just speak for my own family. If it weren't for ABA, my children wouldn't be where they are today. Mm-hmm. And they started in January 2024. So now they've just been in there a year. And the little Bean, I know I'm always talking about Bean, every single one of them had their progress, but I'm just going to speak on him specifically because he's the one that I've seen the most drastic improvement from. You know, he would just twirl around. He wouldn't make eye contact. He would sort of like self-isolate, play by himself. And now that little boy, like, he tries to use his tablet. He makes eye contact. He engages with others. He plays with his siblings. He plays with other kids. Like, he will actively come and seek out adults around him. He may not be able to, you know, use his vocal skills now. Maybe that will develop. I don't know what that will look like for him in the future. But I've really seen him blossom. And it's all because of ABA for my family. Mm-hmm. And I know everybody has a different opinion about ABA, and I'm not here. Right. And I'm sure you feel the same way. We're not here to tell you, oh, you have to do ABA. We're not also saying that every ABA center is the same or is perfect or a perfect fit, but these are options. Mm-hmm. And if you can find a good option that fits your family, that you see progress, then you should fight for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Fight for it, right? We need to be contacting our legislators. We need to be writing letters. We need to be reading voicemails. We need to be asking them to, like, you know, let's go have coffee. Let's talk. I want you to hear my story, to share the need for this thing to continue, to so more families can continue to receive, you know, this support through ABA. So, look up your local legislation and who you should contact. And even if it's a sibling, I mean, they have groups out there where you can just find letters that are already pre-written up, and you can just copy it. You can add in a couple little sentences of your own story if you want, you know, and then sign it and send it over to your legislation. So you can actually just copy all their email addresses, BCC it, and send it out. The more that they hear from families in the community who are directly affected, the more changes can be made and be done. So.
And I'm probably going to do something a little controversial here because I just think I'm that person. But I would also encourage any of the politicians, any of the legislators, if you want to hear from us, reach out. Yeah. We're people too.
Absolutely.
I think any mom, dad, anybody, if you know someone that has a child and you're curious, ask them to go to coffee. I would almost, like, hands down bet that they'll go. Yeah. And they will probably accommodate you. So reach out, send them an email. Call them, ask if they'll meet you. They'll probably come to your house. Like, if you want to hear from us, I would say, like, see it. Please, like, bang down my door. I will come and I will talk to any of you, and I will come to you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or
I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I was just going to say, we had the pleasure when we did the Indiana waiver article, Guardian Care helped cover 150 extra copies.
Nice.
And we handed them out to all the legislators.
Wow, look at you.
Yes. So I'm like, if the legislator wants Uniquely You to be mailed to them, reach out to me. Happy to do that, because the best way to know the needs is to hear them firsthand from families that are going through things. So, that's.
I'm glad that you're doing that.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, I imagine we could probably hand deliver it to them if they want it.
Absolutely.
Like, if you want to have a little cup of coffee with a mom or a dad, they can probably come, have the coffee, hand you a Uniquely You.
Absolutely.
Why not?
100%.
Well, is there anything else that you want to cover while we're here?
Yeah, I'm thankful that we got a chance to talk on so many different, diverse, fun, different topics.
Well, and if you're interested, you can always come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would say that I could share a couple things that have helped me kind of navigate some of the harder times. A specific book that I highly, highly recommend if you haven't had a chance to read it yet. I would definitely recommend getting a copy. I think I read through it like maybe 8 times or so. We attend Traders Point Christian Church, love it there, and they have a great special needs ministry. I didn't see that they had like a special needs ministry for like a growth group or a different type of like a Bible study group. Okay, so I went to them and I was like, hey, I've never been a leader. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm willing to be coached and taught, and if we can develop a program or a curriculum, to really support these families that attend this church, I'd be happy to lead it. And so for about a couple of years, we did a study through the church. There's only about 10 weeks per study. So it's not like you commit and you're there forever. You know, like you come, you do the study, you make connections, and then you can get back into your daily lives, because it's hard to commit to things, you know, for a long-term period of time, having a special needs child. So we studied the book called The Life We Never Expected. It's a book written by Rachel Olson, and they have 2 children with autism, a son who was born, and then when their daughter was born, they were really hoping for a typical child, and when she was diagnosed, was just as devastating as the first time. But the book really goes over such an overview on the grief process, you know, from like waiting to witnessing to treasuring, you know, all of those moments, because we go through seasons of grief daily. I mean, I remember back when I went to my friend's son's soccer game in Carmel, and I watched all these kids, you know, 8, 9, 10 on the soccer field playing, and I just sat there and like, I don't know if my son will ever get to do that. It kind of hit me, you know? And then I realized that it's okay. And I found a program.
All right.
Yeah, I found a program in Brownsburg. They have Hendricks County, they have an adaptive soccer program out there. So I was like, well, we can enroll him in his own soccer program that fits his needs. And so we did. And he went out there, he kicked the ball a couple times, and then he'd run over and, you know, play in the rocks. He enjoyed getting the sticks off the trees and playing in the rocks. And I, you know, loved watching him enjoy his time out on the rocks and grabbing sticks. But after doing that for a couple of years, I realized that maybe soccer isn't the best fit for him in this current season, but we'll grow into that. So yeah, it's just finding what's out there and implementing that. But that book was so good. I mean, it hit on so many things and so many real stories. Even like, have you heard the story, The Trip to Holland?
I don't know if I have.
It's such a good, it's like a poem. It's like a poem kind of short story. But it hits on like how having a special needs child is like planning a trip to Italy.
Okay.
Right? You like pay for it, you book all this stuff, you're going to go there and experience the world in a way you've never seen before. You've been dreaming about this trip and saving for this trip, and you're really looking forward to it. And then you get on the plane, you have all your stuff, and you get off the plane and you realize that you've landed in Holland, right? It's not Italy, right? Like you were planning for this trip, and here you are in Holland, right? And so you're a little devastated because your expectations were to be in Italy. And the expectations didn't land where you are. And then you, over time, realize that, well, Italy has beautiful flowers, you know, and beautiful landscape as well, and awesome people as well, and great opportunity experiences to see the world in a different way too. It may not have been what you wanted, but it's an incredible gift and a blessing if you look at it in that way. And obviously my son Jordan has absolutely taught me like how beautiful life is and simple life is. I mean, just pure bliss, pure joy. Like, he doesn't complain. He doesn't argue. He doesn't backtalk. He's not needy, you know, he's happy with plastic and sticks, you know, like those are his favorite, and sand, you know, going to the beach, playing in the sand, loves doing those things, singing. And it's just simple, you know, like that to me is just so refreshing to see. So wanted to hit on that book because it was such a good one. It talked about the Holland trip. It also had a cool story about how having a special needs child is similar to going to a dinner with a bunch of friends, and afterwards they bring out dessert, and everyone around you gets, you know, beautiful chocolate cake, right? Or, you know, actually, I think it was a chocolate orange, actually. So it was one of those like citrus chocolate oranges. So you were hoping to get an actual chocolate orange like everyone else got. But they give you an actual orange. Right. So you're like, wait, I wanted the chocolate, not the actual orange. But eventually you realize like, okay, it's not as sugary. It doesn't, you know, it's got citrus, which tastes great. It's got vitamin C, you know, you just look at it a little differently. But again, it's just that brokenhearted, unmet expectations of what you think life's going to be. And so I feel like for me that I'm constantly kind of rewiring my brain to be like, things aren't always going to be the way that you want them to be, but to embrace what is and to find the beauty in what is around you that are the blessings. So those are some takeaways that I've had, some realizations.
Yeah, I'm really relating to what you're saying, and like I shared with you that I have a nonprofit, and the journey of how that came to be, and it was a very similar story to what you just shared. I wanted my children to have access, and I wanted them to be able to participate in things, and I also went through that. My older son had a regression, so it started off with him being diagnosed with a speech delay, and eventually led to let's test him for autism. So we did all that. So actually, whenever all this started, we were in France.
Oh.
So my kids were learning English and French.
Wow.
So I thought by the time we came back, I thought, oh, well, I'm teaching him 2 languages. So, kids that are like multilingual, it takes them a little extra time.
Yep.
It was the farthest thing from my mind to think that he'd have autism.
Wow.
Plus, in fairness, I didn't really know anything about autism.
Yeah.
I didn't. And I think most of us are probably that way. So, you have this child, much like your experience with epilepsy, if you never see it, you don't have a compass for that, you just little by little, it's like, okay, something is different. I'm not quite sure what it is, but something is different. And, I just really think it's special that you shared some of that stuff, because I think that the lived experience of all of us cumulatively, that is what is important. That
when you know better, you do better, right?
Exactly, but that you're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think all of us probably have been there at some point where you're exhausted. You don't know what to do. You don't know who else is out there. And that's a large part of what this podcast is about. So I'm glad that you're being so vulnerable and sharing all that with us.
Thank you. Do you want me to take the vulnerability to one?
Take it up a notch. Take it up.
Gosh. Well,
this is very much the space. Right. I'm going to let you talk about whatever you want to talk about here.
Thanks. So I'll share, just because I think it will be hopefully helpful for others, that I'm all for being as vulnerable as I can to help others not feel so alone, because life is hard, and I don't want people to feel like they're walking their journey by themselves. Right. I've been there before, and it's not fun. So that's why I love purposeful living, because you can always get a coach, and they have growth groups, and it's just been something that's helped me during, honestly, the most difficult time in my life. Back in 2023, my now ex at the time, he decided he no longer wanted to stay in the marriage. Okay. And he submitted for divorce and left, and that was a huge, I feel like the rug just got pulled out from underneath you. You have these, you make a commitment, you see life as to what you would want it to be, and then you realize over time, that it, for me, was it's hard to process still. I mean, I'm working still to kind of process a lot of it, and I have actually, there's an incredible group. I took a marriage alchemy course back in 2023 during this process, and I was like, if I can do anything, I just want to work on my inner healing, so that the marriage alchemy wasn't for me to work on my marriage at the time. It was to work on my inner marriage between myself, right? If I can become a whole, I don't need somebody else to fill me with things, and I don't need to spend my time giving parts of me to them to make them feel whole. That's why a lot of relationships can become very dysfunctional. But when you're whole and they're whole, then you both can be able to support each other more in that way. So that was a really rough time for me to go from, okay, in this 12-year relationship, 7-year marriage, and now all of a sudden I'm a single parent, right? And that was, I probably would say my biggest fear was to be a single parent, that I would say to be abandoned. Right? Yeah. That feeling of abandonment sucks.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm sure a lot of people do. Yeah. And it wasn't, I can handle being abandoned, right? Yeah. It's hard, but I can handle it. Yeah. I'll get through. And I have, and God has been so gracious. But it was probably even harder that he wants to forego parenting time with his son. And it's the abandonment of him, right? That hits on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I share that to let people know that, like, life transitions are hard.
Yeah.
You know, whether they're with your children or in your personal life or in a career. But yeah, I look back in the last 18 months and I'm like, what a whirlwind, you know, to go from what life was to, I think in the last 18 months, I've had the divorce. Launched a new business in Michigan, which helped keep me busy and focused on positive things during craziness. But then to navigate a beautiful opportunity to meet an incredible man who has fit into my life and my kids' life just so seamlessly. I feel like we're kind of cut from the same cloth in different ways. He bonded with my kids and my son so well. And so I got remarried in July of last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, that happened. Our magazine has changed its name to Uniquely You. My last name changed to Olson. And so just all kinds of exciting changes, but some hard ones too in that season. And then I also recently in October experienced a miscarriage.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, not easy to go through that either. But yeah, so you look back in 18 months and you're like, whew, I'm alive, I'm here.
Yeah.
Right, I'm hanging on. So I would say that for me in 2024, like, I need to know rest is okay.
Sure.
Right? Because I've always been one of those like achievers and go and do and be and forgetting, right? You can deplete yourself easily if you don't put on your own oxygen mask and take care of yourself. You can't give to everyone forever. You can't. I need God. I need his word. I need his prayer. I need that in my life. Other people praying for me praying for other people and praying for the world. But, also being able to heal, through those moments of hard times. So, just wanted to share so other people know that, like, there is always, I'm finally feeling like I can kind of see that light on the end of the tunnel. But it takes so much, to kind of crawl out of that hole, and it's not been easy. But we're getting there, and I'm thankful for that.
Do you want a hug?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate you. As I knock the
No, it's
microphone
fine.
over.
We're not concerned about the microphone. It's fine. But, whoo, wow. Yeah, we definitely took that up a notch, didn't we?
We did. Not to air everything out, but you know what? Like, I
breathe a little
feel
bit.
like I took. If you haven't heard of Darren Earlywine, he has an incredible spiritual DNA course. I took that, and the biggest takeaway I got. Obviously we're all equipped differently. God wired us differently. We have figuring out your giftings and doing those things well, you'll exponentially exceed versus focusing on the areas that you're maybe not as good at or as passionate at. So it helps you to determine, like, how are you wired? What is your DNA, your passions, your purpose? And it kind of peels back a lot of those layers. And I remember sitting in that course in that room, and I was always considering that I would be a blessing to write a book. And so I'm saying this out loud so I can hold myself accountable.
Because you're having a book coming.
Yes, I would love to write a book. And I've spent hours putting a lot of stuff down. I was just organizing it and making sure that it's easy to understand and that it actually has impact for the community. So I bought a book course on how to self-publish and write a book. And I'm in process, but it's not going. But during that course, the name of the book landed on my heart. And so currently I'm like, if I wrote the book, it would be titled Igniting a Fire Within, from Pain to Purpose. I feel like that really summarizes my journey over the last few years. But I haven't written it yet. So maybe, I don't know, Holy Spirit's going to work on that whole thing. But
Well, I think we have a mutual friend that might be able to help you with that.
We do.
I'm pretty sure we do.
Absolutely. Maya's amazing. So
Yeah, you should get on that. I think that sounds like an amazing opportunity to help people.
Meeting her and seeing what she's done, I'm like, oh, you're inspiring me to like get this book written. So thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How, like, I think this has just been my own journey, and I'll speak for myself. But something happened to me. I'm not quite sure what. But when I made that choice, which I knew was going to be hard, I'm like, if I put myself out there this way and I am just steamrolling, I'm just not letting anything get in my way because I see the purpose in it. We all have our particular gifts to give. You never really know how it's going to pan out, but the important thing is to start. So I would also recommend any of you watching, if you have an idea, roll with it. If you need some help, if you need some mentorship, if you need some guidance, like there are people out there, reach out, seek these people out. If you have something that you think would be beneficial, you have a knowledge base that you can share with someone, even if you just help one person, I think it's useful.
Absolutely. 100%. We go through things and we overcome things in hopes to then be able to be more relatable to other people who are going through things that you can then help coach and guide and, offer support to in a unique way too. So yeah, I feel like we grow through those struggles. We grow through that pain. It is healing. I think to put on like rose-colored glasses and pretend everything is perfect and like it's great and everything's awesome. It's just not reality.
That's a total fallacy.
Your expectations are going to be broken all the time. But you don't want to be doom and gloom, right? I'm like, everything sucks too. So there is an incredible person named Hal Elrod. If you haven't heard of him, check him out. He's got a podcast and he's written books. One I highly recommend is called The Miracle Morning.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh, well, yay. I'm going to share with you guys, and we can wrap up soon because I know people have a billion things to do. They don't want like a long video here. But I met Hal Elrod, known him for years back in my Cutco days. When I sold kitchen cutlery in people's homes and sharpened knives. Loved it and grew so much from that experience. He spoke at one of our conferences. And he shared a little bit about the importance a lot of times of what he titled interrupting interruptions. And I love that because I feel like me being kind of type A and like plan, organize, like, and then you think everything's going to go to the plan because you have it written down and you know what you have to do and when you have to do it. There's a lot of unmet expectations when you think everything's going to go to plan. So he said the best plan to have is your plan of how to handle things when your plans are interrupted, right? So what's your interruption plan? Because that's what's going to help you get through those moments of interruption and keep you on track so that your ship's not kind of like blowing all over the place. So that was really reassuring. But he wrote the book called The Miracle Morning. They have them for students and teens and business owners and all things, but just the standard Miracle Morning. But I think upgraded it to add some other fun things in there. But he talks about the lifesavers, and this is like a national movement. They have like people all over the world who have implemented the Miracle Morning and used these lifesavers like every day, and it's totally changed their lives. I mean, he was in a massive car accident. Like looking at the vehicle he was in, he should not have survived that accident. He did, and he was told that he would never walk again, and he's fully recovered walking, which is absolutely a miracle. And then he was diagnosed with cancer shortly after. Terminal, was told that he would never live and wouldn't survive long. Beat the cancer.
Wow.
I mean, just through doing Miracle Morning, lifesavers every day. And maybe we don't all have an extra hour to get up every early morning and do this. Maybe it's starting at 1 minute for each of the lifesavers and working our way up to more and more time as we're seeing our mindset shift and our daily lives, blossom in different ways because we're putting in time for ourselves to process and write down and express, what our wants, needs, and goals are. And so I'll very quickly go through the lifesavers.
That's fine. We have time. I think it's important we share resources. Yeah. We can always chunk this up. Cool. This might be 2 or 3 episodes, so just,
Awesome. Yeah.
Go ahead and talk.
So basically he breaks down and he recommends like getting up an extra hour every day and spending 10 minutes on each of the lifesavers. So S is for silence, which is incredibly important for our minds and souls, because it seems like as soon as you wake up, your alarm goes off, like your feet hit the ground and you're go the rest of the day. And you just never have a minute to like decompress and be in that silence. So 10 minutes of silence. A is for affirmations. And this could be affirmations for yourself, for others in your lives, like, you know, it's just being able to declare things that are true about you and about who you want to be and about others. Like, that's so healing. V is for visualization. So taking then some time after you have had some silence and had some affirmations to do some visualizing and to really kind of see yourself. What would life be like when you are here, when you have achieved this, when you, your family gets to take that trip to Disney that you have been planning for years, you know, or whatever it is, you know, I love camping. So for me, it would probably be a camping trip to like a fun place, like, you know, Smoky Mountains and stuff would be awesome. So, so once you have that visualization of what you want to do, it just helps to put things into perspective. E is 10 minutes of exercise, right? And it's not like a rigorous exercise, you know, like it can be stretching, you know? It can be light ab stuff. It can be, if you're into yoga, right? That all those things, you know, are available, you know, for people to work on some exercising. And then R is for reading. So spending 10 minutes, whether it's in your Bible, whether it's in a devotional, whether it's in a book that you're currently in that, you know, you really want to, you know, spend some time in, spending 10 minutes reading. And then the last one is scribing, writing or journaling. So people can actually then take everything and process it and put it all down on paper. I think there's a lot to be said, especially with how much of a digital age we live in. The connection of our souls, our minds, and using our hands. When you can kind of do the writing, it I think means so much more than just typing it out. I mean, both work. You know, if you have to put on your phone, if you have to talk it out, it's in your notes, you know, in one of those text apps or talk apps, those are nice. But I think when we can put the pen to paper, it just, I think, helps make it more real. And it just it sinks in deeper, right, into your mind, because you're making those connections with the pen and the paper. So, and I am paper, right? I can't do paper print magazines and not be a paper print advocate. So yeah.
And to go a step further, as far as using your hands, there's a lot of cultures throughout the world that really believe in the power of hands, you know, the power of like doing the physicality of the work and like your connection to the earth that way, or your spirituality that way, whatever that looks like for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that was great. Thanks for hitting on that. That's important. Yeah. I love it. Thank you for carving out time and for this great conversation. And there's so many other things that I would always be happy to come back and help touch on or support, or, you know, like I said, have people I'm sure would be happy to help too. So
yeah, that's fabulous. Well, I just want to remind everybody that we will be including all the links to everything we've talked about. If I missed something, or if you want to know about something, please just send us a message. And if I don't have that information, I will get that information for you. And remember that we do hard things every day. Everybody here is doing hard things every day. Give yourself some grace, take a breath, but just try and be kind to yourself. And thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on, and we'll see you next time. Bye guys. We are at a pivotal point in American history. We do not have the luxury to remain silent. Programs are disappearing every day. We hope that this podcast raises awareness and sparks a sense of advocacy in you. We all can make a difference. The important thing is to start. See you next time.